warning us about China the longest, both of you. Now the question is, well, they hold a lot of our debt. I don't think we pay it back. Can we do that?
I just, first of all, as you know, I wrote a book on Trump versus China back in October, outlining how bad they would be, and then they have lived out exactly what I described in the book. I just did an article this week, my newsletter, and made the argument that they are clearly guilty, and that we should both create a right of suit for private citizens, so every family who's lost somebody should be able to sue the communist dictatorship. In the case of the Lockerbie terrorist bombing over Scotland, right, it amounted to about $8 million per person, and after inflation, that'd be probably about $11 million today. And then second, every government in the world, not just the U.S. government, every government in the world, the Italian, the Spanish, you name it, should calculate the economic cost of Chinese communist dishonesty, and we should charge them for that. We can, frankly, impound the debt that they hold. We can impound all their assets in the United States. We can establish a virus debt repayment tariff and say to them, until we collect what you have cost us, we're going to not allow you to ever send anything under traditional rules, period. But it would be a disaster for the world if the dictatorship in China was taught the lesson that they could lie to everybody, kill hundreds of thousands of people, and it'll be over 200,000 before this is done, cost the rest of the world trillions of dollars, and have nothing done. And that's an enormous danger, because our friends on the left just can't bring themselves to defend America against the Chinese communist dictatorship.
Let me ask you, because I think this is very, very important. If we do all of that, what consequences are they? We're going to, is that going to be viewed as an act of war? Because I think one of, beyond lying, remember there was this study out of Great Britain that said 95% of this could have all been prevented had they invited in the world's experts. And I asked Secretary of State Mike Pompeo if they gave you a call and said, hey, we need help, what would you have done? He said, we would have sent our best. But they did that. But then they cut off.
We often send people.
Right. But they remember when they did this stuff. They would not allow travel within China to Wuhan or Wuhan to any part of China. But they kept open international flights, so they knew it was dangerous.
Right. Right. Look, I think you have to have an assumption here that the Chinese communist dictatorship was deliberately and methodically lying, that it has been manipulating this entire situation for at least 4 months. And when people say to me, well, what if they retaliate? My answer is really simple. If we haven't got the guts to stand up to them now, what are they going to be like 10 or 20 years from now? I mean, this is a decisive turning point, and it's exactly what Churchill talked about in terms of Hitler in the 30s. I mean, you reach a point where you either stand up for your principles and you stand up for what's right, or you allow the dictatorship to dominate. It's exactly what Harry Truman was faced with in the late 40s. He could have caved into Stalin. He could have given up Berlin. He could have allowed the Soviets to dominate. And he said no, and he took the risk. And a lot of people said, no, boy, that's really a big risk. Well, let me tell you, it's a big risk to take on the Chinese communist dictatorship, and it's a bigger risk to not take on the Chinese communist dictatorship.
I've never seen the mob as bad as they are in the media and Democrats as awful as they have been all throughout this. We have an election in 194 days. These are uncharted territories that we're in, uncharted waters rather, that we're in here, and uncharted territory. What is your guess? How does this play out? You see the vitriol.
Well,
Donald Trump could do nothing right.
Sure.
They wouldn't give him credit for anything.
Right. Right. Let's 3 quick points. One, Trump is the most hated president since Abraham Lincoln. As Alan Guelzo, a great scholar, at Princeton has pointed out, you have to go back to the slave owner newspapers in South Carolina attacking Lincoln in 1860 to have anything like the level of vitriol you get out of the modern left. So that's part one. They hate him. They get up every morning. They know they hate him. They're not sure what he did bad, but they know something was bad, and that's just reality. Part two, the number one thing for the president is to pick up a lesson from Franklin Delano Roosevelt and be Dr. Defeat the virus and Dr. Create jobs. He should not be a candidate in his own head until Labor Day. From now to Labor Day, he should be the commander-in-chief, the person helping America, the man getting the job done, which of course shrinks Biden every single day because there's no possibility that Biden can compete with somebody who's an effective commander-in-chief. 3, this is my prediction. We can come back to this later on this fall. The weaker Biden is, the more indefensible and impossible Biden is, the more vicious the news media will become.
By the way, that is like, you know what? That's a layup prediction. Come on, I make that prediction. Let me ask you this: do you do?
I'll take the layup.
You already took the layup. You could have fed it to me, but you decided to take it for yourself. You know, I understand. Some people are selfish on the court. I'm teasing in every way. Do you think they're going to try and steal this from him? They're going to say, he's really not doing well. We can't run him.
Oh, you mean Biden?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just got a note tonight from somebody who's a pretty good expert on, who says he doesn't see technically how they can do it.
But does Jill Biden step in and
the delegates?
Or does he do a Hail Mary and bring in, let's see, Michelle Obama as a running mate?
Well, I don't think